Welcome to Speaking of Higher Ed, Conversations on Teaching and Learning. This podcast is produced by the Center for Instructional Innovation at Augusta University. I'm your host, Andrew Everett. The purpose of this podcast is to provide a resource that will help you create engaging and meaningful learning experiences. This is episode 7 and our Summer Shorts episode for July, where we will quickly recap some key moments from the spring. Please share this episode and subscribe. New episodes are released the third Wednesday of each month during spring and fall semesters. In episode 4, we talked about improving learning success using high-impact practices with Drs. Quentin Davis and Hannah Bennett. Both led faculty learning communities here at Augusta University last year, where they focused on the key elements for ensuring you are using high-impact practices.
The key to it truly being high-impact rather than just a label on a course or on a professor is that the students really are understanding what they are learning. So it's a lot about metacognition. I am realizing that I'm learning this content and that I'm applying it in X context. And so that's piece of it, the metacognitive piece is extremely important. And that I think that's one thing that a lot of faculty realize is that they might have done a service learning project, but there wasn't a big reflection piece about it. And therefore, it bleeds more into volunteerism, which there's nothing wrong with volunteerism. That's great. And we want students and faculty to engage in that. But that's not the same as an academic in-depth experience where you're really going deep into a topic and not just kind of touching the surface.
Talking about like reducing the engagement gap is really important when it comes to high impact practices. We know when they're trying to learn things for just content to learn, but I think it's about helping them recognize that they're learning without telling them that they're learning. These are activities that they like to do, that they can relate to, that they can find value in, and they don't feel like we're just lecturing to them all the time. Because we all know if you have students and you look out in the lecture hall and eyes are glazed, someone's sleeping, someone's on their phone, like you've lost something, you've lost someone. And I know we can't get everyone every single time, and that's the reality, but how often do we think about changing our modality to engage them much more frequently? Sometimes in academics, I feel like we get very pigeonholed into just PowerPoints and lecturing, and I feel like that really reduces our engagement gap, and high impact practices really bring that up.
For University System of Georgia faculty, you can access the High Impact Practices short course on Momentum U. Links to that and the full episode are on our show page at augusta.edu/innovation. Just click on episode 4. In episode 5, we discussed a fun and effective pedagogy known as reacting to the past, also called reacting. Drs. Andrew Goss and Ruth McClelland-Nugent shared their expertise on using this innovative learning experience.
So these games were originally developed by a Barnard history professor, Mark Carnes, and he created them in the context of a freshman seminar that he was required to teach, and he sort of created the basic framework for the reacting games. Now, after a few years, he told some of his colleagues and some of his friends about it, and he basically made these games available to others, to other instructors, and that was the beginning. But starting about 15 years ago, it got so large that it became clear that there would have to be some formal, organization that was sort of managing this. Anyone is free to write their own game, but it is very time consuming. There's a series of steps of basically a vetting of games. So a game might be developed by an individual or a team of instructors, and then they play it in their own classroom. Then they share it with some friends, and eventually it gets reviewed, peer-reviewed, and there's also a requirement that it is tested at universities other than the ones where the writers are from. And so there's actually a lot of game testing that happens before the games are formally sort of made available to the wider, reacting community.
I will just follow that up with a story from teaching reacting semester. A few years ago, in which the students, I had a lot of students who were initially very skeptical. And when I do reacting, I like to give the students a kind of a survey before I start and ask them, what kind of roles would you be comfortable with or not comfortable with? Because I try to meet them where they are. And I had one student who, in her first survey, was like, I don't really want to speak. I don't really want to do any of these things. She was very, very uncertain. And we talked about it, and she was worried about her GPA. Understandable. This is a new thing. How will I succeed in this class? I don't know. I don't have any data. I know how to handle a lecture class. I know how to handle other things. I don't know what I'll do here. When I got to the second game I played 2, and I gave everyone the survey. She sent hers back to me with, I'll play anything, YOLO. You only live once. And it was just so great to see someone who at first is like, I don't know what this is going to be like. This is amazing. This is fun. This is engaging. And I am actually learning something here. So I think about her a lot because I think a lot of students have that kind of initial, I'm not too sure what this is. I've never seen this before, to being like, hey, this was a great experience.
The Reacting Consortium is the source for all things reacting. For AU faculty, you can obtain access to the game materials by requesting access from the Reacting Consortium. Visit our show page for links to all of the resources, and to hear this full episode, click on Episode 5. Again, all the resources discussed today are on our show page at augusta.edu/innovation. Thanks for listening. Please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe, and of course share this episode of Speaking of Higher Ed. Speaking of Higher Ed is produced by the Center for Instructional Innovation at Augusta University.